Hello everyone and welcome to Sell Me a Movie. Of course, on the Cavalier Studios channel, this is where we go and discuss movies that are either new into theaters, been out in theaters for a while, streaming, or even movies that's been out for a decade. One thing I will say is in order to support this channel, make sure you guys do subscribe down below, follow us on all social platforms, and down below too, there is a link to the merchandise store where you guys could get a shirt like how I'm wearing right now to go ahead and support us, because all proceeds do go to and end up going back to the studio as well as the YouTube channel alone. Today, I'm very excited to go ahead and go over a movie that when I saw it, I was like, they're doing another one, and I'm super excited about it because as a fan, been waiting for a movie like this for a long time. And that is, of course, Godzilla -1.
Hello there, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and children.
Now, everybody knows Godzilla. We all know that it's a Japanese-made film that was adapted to many of the American side. Of course, you watch the old Japanese movies, they are dubbed to American voices. It is something that has grown a fan base, and a huge fan base, to the point where we got Godzilla in the early 2000s, we got Kong most recently to team up with the Godzilla that we know from, I believe, 2017. So I mean, Godzilla has been a staple to not only this country, but Japan and worldwide for a very long time. And what we do get out of this film that is directed by Takashi Yamazaki, I will not go over anybody else's names only because that's the easiest one I could pronounce, and I want to respect the other actors and actresses who were in this movie. One takeaway from this movie is that Godzilla is an absolute menace. And when I mean absolute menace, I mean something that we haven't seen in either a very long time or never before. I'm talking about this Godzilla almost and basically eats individuals, people. Yeah, I don't remember ever seeing that in a Godzilla movie, unless if it was the early Matthew Broderick movie. I honestly don't remember seeing it in the early 2000s or the early Japanese movies. Correct me if I'm wrong, which is why I always say this. Comment down below on what you guys feel about this movie and what you liked and disliked about it, or even my commentary too. But overall though, this movie was, I think, a $10 million film, if I'm not mistaken, and it grossed so much to the point where there was only going to be a limited release in the US for this film, but the more money it progresses and gains, the longer it stays out in theaters, which is why I recommend watching this film in theaters. It is that well done. As far as CGI goes, beautiful. As far as cinematography, beautiful cinematography. And when it comes to the soundtrack, let me just tell you, it brings back so many childhood memories because it brings back the iconic music that we all know and love from Godzilla. The one thing I do have a gripe about, and honestly, it's just my personal opinion, I don't think it lays heavy on anyone else's, but the main character, he is a kamikaze pilot, because that's the thing. This movie takes place during the ends of World War II. You get introduced to this kamikaze pilot who doesn't end up being a kamikaze, he chickens out. So now he gets stranded on this island, Godzilla shows up, he basically demolishes this guy's platoon, essentially, this island, and now the kamikaze pilot is like, I'm not a hero, he's trying to always redeem himself, he goes back home, and basically you have a straggler of a woman who kind of shows up, who kind of befriends him, who becomes friends with him. They end up getting a child as well, like an orphan child, and they become a family. And during this whole process and this whole progression of the character is he's always trying to redeem himself. But throughout the movie, though, he always chickens out. Now, I won't say what happens at the end. I will not say, because everybody knows that if he's a main character, obviously he redeems himself. I'm not going to say how, because that's just going to ruin the movie. And the character development as well. But what I will say, though, and what I disliked about it, is I think the actor's acting. It has nothing to do with the character, really, because it's a typical, guy who chickens out, who wants to, like a redemption movie, basically. But I feel like it's the actor's acting that kind of just annoyed me through the movie. Everyone else's acting was perfectly fine. I enjoyed it, but it was just his, and I don't know why. So if you had an issue with it, leave a comment down below. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But overall, though, guys, if you did see this movie, I want to know, what did you guys think about it? And if you haven't, I can't stress enough to go see this in theaters. Support this film, because it is beautifully done. Godzilla, like I said, is an absolute menace. He destroys everything, and there's a little horror element to Godzilla. And what I mean by that is not like jump scares or anything like that, but the creepiness and overall feel, to the point where when you see him on screen, you know crap's about to happen. You kind of get a sense of fear about what's going to happen too, and that is wonderful. Not only that, but at the very end of this film, I don't believe I've ever seen Godzilla have this ability before, and it's not a bad ability. I just won't go over it because obviously it's a spoiler, but like I said, it's one of those things that is very enjoyable, and I highly recommend it. I was the only one in the theater, and I was able to enjoy it throughout the whole process. So again, go see Godzilla Minus One, and leave a comment down below. Make sure that you follow us on all social platforms, and we'll see you guys next time for the next review.